What advice would you give a young lady wanting to become President of the United States?
Over 150 years after the first woman ran for president, we still haven't had a woman lead the nation.
You think a woman in the United States today actually be nominated on the ticket as president?
The first thing you always get is, well, you don't look presidential.
And what we see today is simply a dress rehearsal for the day and time we meet in convention to nominate Madam President.
But did you know women in the US were running for president long before they could even vote? Latin America has seen over a dozen women serve as presidents since the 1970s. And this movement of women leading their countries is only growing. So why is the US lagging behind? One study found that today, more than 90% of Americans say they're ready to vote for a woman. Younger generations are thought to be even less concerned about a candidate's gender. If Kamala Harris wins the election, she would be the first female president of the United States. In the 248 years since the birth of this nation, all 45 presidents have been men. But for decades, many women have tried to break this glass ceiling. Let's go back to 1870, nearly 50 years before women even had the right to vote. Victoria Woodhull made history as the first woman to run for president by announcing her candidacy with a notice to the New York Herald, a bold statement against the norms of her time. Not only was she the first female stockbroker on Wall Street, but she also was the first woman to testify before Congress. But her groundbreaking run hit a snag. Despite not being able to vote, the US Constitution didn't explicitly bar women from running for office. However, Woodhull was just 34, making her technically too young to be eligible. While she was nominated and ran a campaign, historians often debate her candidacy due to her age and the lack of official recognition, as she received no electoral votes and there's uncertainty about her popular vote count. In 1884, Belva and Lockwood volunteered as the presidential candidate for the National Women's Equal Rights Party. She traveled across the country, attracting large paying crowds. And while she couldn't vote, she made it clear that she could be voted for. And she did. She claimed over 4,700 votes in 9 states, calling her run a success. Even though women gained the right to vote in 1920, it wasn't until the 1960s that another woman made a serious run for presidency. Fast forward to the 20th century, the women's liberation movement was driving major changes. As women demanded equality, the idea of a female president started to feel within reach. In 1964, Margaret Chase Smith, a Republican senator and former congresswoman, became the first woman nominated for president by a major party. She was a skilled grassroots campaigner known for her connections in Maine. But despite using the same approach in her national campaign, she lost every primary. In 1972, Shirley Chisholm, the first African-American woman elected to Congress and a founder of the Congressional Black Caucus and the Congressional Women's Caucus, made history as the first woman and African-American to run for the Democratic nomination, and seized that moment to highlight the importance of women in leadership roles.
There is a great need for more women in the political arena. I happen to believe that there are certain aspects of legislation that probably would be given much more attention if we had more women's voices in the halls of the legislatures on the city, state, and national level.
And in 2016, 52 years after Margaret Chase Smith first became a nominee for a major party, Hillary Clinton made history as the first woman to win a major party's presidential nomination.
I know we have still not shattered that highest and hardest glass ceiling, but someday someone will, and hopefully sooner than we might think right now.
Today, women are holding more powerful roles than ever. About a third of state legislators nationwide are women, a big increase from just 10% in 1980. In fact, Nevada actually has a majority of female legislators. But even with all this progress, why has the presidency still been out of reach? Americans believe women continue to be underrepresented, noting that women often have to prove themselves more than men, face gender discrimination, and receive less support from party leaders, to name a few. So, what makes this time different? Well, here's the thing. A lot has changed in the 8 years since Hillary Clinton's presidential run. The Me Too movement exposed sexual harassment and held powerful men accountable. For the first time, college-educated women surpassed men in the workforce, and the Supreme Court overturned the federal right to abortion. But will these shifts make a difference for Harris? As the first female vice president, Harris could soon make history not only as the first female president, but also as the first Black and South Asian female president.
Together, let us write the next great chapter in the most extraordinary story ever told.
Will the United States follow other countries and elect a female president?